I have a man who I've known for quite some time, decades now, I would have to say, from our days rubbing elbows on the Fox News channel. Michael Wiles is the managing partner of Wiles and Weinberg. He is a very, very well-known attorney, especially regarding the area of immigration. Following, as did I, in his father's footsteps. His dad helped John Lennon. My dad helped Jennifer Lopez. I think my dad won that battle there, Michael. Michael, welcome back to the Arthur Aidala Power Hour. How are you, young man?
Big fan of yours, sir. What a privilege to be on the show and to see you in full action in the last few months. I've been listening from a distance and very proud of your good work. And everyone should know that Arthur is a dean in the field, not only because of the kind of practice that he developed, but the kind of results he gets for his clients, and is always reaching out behind the scenes to see if there's any kind of immigration issue that we can touch on.
Well, I appreciate that, Michael, and obviously you're the first name that rolls off of my tongue when we have an immigration issue, and I'm being very sincere. So fill us in, Michael. I mean, talk about a topical situation in your area of law, from what ICE, took place out in the Midwest to what happened here in New York City with the city council employee. You know how to handle a microphone. Take it away, Michael Wiles.
Very upsetting. I'm also a mayor in New Jersey, where I live. I'm a proud Democratic fifth-term mayor of Englewood, New Jersey, and I happen to have the privilege of representing part of the Trump family. I did President Trump's immigration work for Trump Models, Miss Universe, and then Mrs. Trump. I handled her parents' citizenship, her sister's green card, her O visa before that, and a host of work for the Kushners and all the other families in the constellation that surround the president. So this was a Democrat that became a Republican later in life, always sought to bring in quality people to this country using immigration, appreciating what our founding documents and our parents envisioned. But now it seems to be a silly season, and it's pretty disgusting, truthfully, when you see ICE clearly targeting cities and officials that are Democratic. Now, again, I am a former federal prosecutor myself. I served as the U.S. Attorney in Brooklyn for 4 years. I am not one that's partisan when it comes to law enforcement. I support my men and women in blue as a mayor for so many terms. I was an auxiliary police officer for 10 years with the NYPD as well. So I understand the job at hand. And I remember, Arthur, years ago, sitting down to dinner with Ed Koch, former Mayor Koch, and I said to him, what's your thing on immigration? He goes, listen, Michael, if people were coming after them, I would get out of the way. But if no one's getting after them, I'm going to make sure they have driver's licenses, that they're educated, and they contribute to society, because we get more out of it than we lose by being so gracious. Well, it seems that what we're hearing in the news is a very little different animal. Tricia McLaughlin, the spokesperson for the Justice Department, for ICE, says so many things. First, she's saying that this gentleman, the city councilman staffer from Venezuela that was arrested, had no right to be here, and it was undermined by the fact, truthfully, Arthur, that he has TPS status, which is temporary protected status, that allows him to be here until October 2026. Unless he came into contact with the criminal justice system in some fashion, he should not be placed in detention. And that's really what we're seeing here. Mayor Mamdani is coming out now against the detention of a staffer for the city council. We have to make sure that if we're going to remove people, much to what our former Mayor Koch envisioned, that we do it through the law, and that we don't create silly seasons where people are coming after agents. They have to mask themselves, and they're not de-escalating, and they're aggressive. So they're creating a feeling that is just untoward in a society that we have developed so nobly in these last 250 years. This is getting silly, and it has to stop.
Well, it's interesting. You just used the term de-escalate. A friend of the show, Bill O'Reilly, he was on News Nation last night, and he was asked by the host, Leland Vetter, if he believes ICE needs to change its tactics. And Bill O'Reilly said, absolutely. ICE needs to de-escalate. Now, I don't know if you're talking to him yourself, Michael Wiles, but you and you who know so much about the world of immigration and the laws and what is legal and what is not legal, and Bill O'Reilly, who he usually leans pretty heavily into law enforcement. Here's his quote: "So my advice to Christine Noem and to the Department of Homeland Security in general would be, if it gets to a point where violence may break out, you have to de-escalate it, and that is in every single police manual in this country."
Amazing. Those are prescient words. This administration has a very strong policy of arresting immigrants regardless of whether they violated the status or committed crimes. But if you look at the numbers, Arthur, over 80% of all immigration arrests, the individual has no criminal record. So by virtue of the facts, I believe the president didn't realize, or his supporters, or the people in place, that there weren't as many bad people as they envisioned, and that narrative won't stick to housekeepers, to people who pick blueberries, to maids, and all kinds of other cosmetologists and people that are keeping things moving. Who's going to pick the blueberries in Georgia and make the beds in our hospitality corridors?
I understand. So, Michael,
we start removing people like this.
Believe me, I think a lot of people all over the country are feeling that. And just throw out that quote again. Did you say 80% of the people being detained do not have any?
80% of all immigration arrests, the individual has no criminal record.
Not here, or not in their home country.
Yeah, and what's remarkable, and this is, upsetting, that a lot of people, when you come in on a visa, you're not a criminal if you overstay. You're engaged in the civil system, not a criminal system. So the notion that they're going to place you in jail, well, you can easily apply for bond. Why put people through these hurdles? Now, some of it is audacious. People are acting less than humble when they have clients, when they have their housekeepers with their children going on planes, when they want a vacation. Some of it is just foolhardy and has to get under control. On the other hand, the administration really has a job on its hand to mete out justice smartly. Our children are watching. I'm now a grandfather times 9 times.
You're a grandfather 9 times?
9 times.
God bless you.
My late father passed away 2 years ago, and we named 4 of kids after him. And I'm forever grateful that I had the ability to be his partner, let alone his son. And I remember my father's politics changing as he got older. He represented, as you cited, John Lennon in the famous case when the Nixon administration wanted him out. And he always knew that we would be able to do best and act more nobly. This president, by the way, is a businessman, and he understands that if we don't let the world's talent come here, we're going to end up eclipsing ourselves. And yet, the way that they're removing people is as if he's trying to still fight a campaign, and it's unnecessary. Now, he stopped the bleed at the border, and we all agree that the last administration created more problems than good when it came to this. And I can tell you, as a practitioner and as a professor, I teach at Cardozo Law School 15 years. The law is now evolving, and they put a hard stop. But unless we start putting good laws so that we onboard foreign students into the workforce properly, so that we keep the people that are here. Remember, it was a Republican president, President Reagan in 1986, who once was a Democrat, who turned around after 3 million people were here unlawfully, and there's about 30 now. After 3 million people were here unlawfully, in 86, he said, you know what, we can't live like this in the shadows. Nobody trusted him. They had to open up offices on 24th Street in the west side of Manhattan because they felt it was a ruse. But he gave amnesty to 3 million people. If you can prove in 86 that you had entered before January 1 of 82 and you were free of crime, you would get a green card. He then opened up the whole compliance with the I-9 part of the ledger, where he took the men and women in suits and put them with, he took them from the guns and badges and put them in suits and skirts and said, go teach people to police immigration, shifting the responsibility from the government now to employers. That was the last time immigration law was meaningfully moved in 1986. And we still have people going through these fakakta, that's a legal term, these crazy
I know the legal
of onboarding.
So, Michael, before I let you go, because I know you got a lot of stuff going on, I saw a video last night of a guy working at Target, and the ICE agents, it's an enormous show of force, right? They show up, and they grab him, and, he's in his Target work gear, and they grab him, they're pulling him out, and he's screaming, I'm an American citizen, I'm an American citizen. I have my passport here. I have my American passport here. They totally ignore him, and even though his fellow employees are screaming, he's an American, and they throw him in the car. Like, to the best of your knowledge, where does someone like that go? Now they put him in some van, and now where do they take him?
So first of all, ICE agents have a legitimate concern about their own safety in the middle of an exigency, as it's described, when they're effecting an arrest. So it is perfectly normal, if he's a citizen, for them to take him separate and aside so that no other relatives would cause anybody harm or onlookers, and then sit down quietly and inspect his passport. If he is, they have to release him. In fact, you're entitled to a day in a federal court for a rendition if you're a citizen or not. If he had his passport on him, very easily they could have avoided bad PR and settled that immediately. But their own safety is really what's at issue. The real question ultimately...
Michael, let me just... I know that's what the handbook says. If you saw the show of force that these guys had at the Target place, unless someone had a bazooka... Say it again?
Yeah, they have way too much money and people and resources now at their disposal, and they may be getting the wrong aggressive people. The supervisors need to really put in a dose of a chill pill in everybody's coffee. Let me tell you, when I was at the U.S. Attorney, I went on one of those raids. We met 4 o'clock in the morning. They go in early. Everybody's caffeinated, and it's a real issue. You put the kind of resource that they're pumping into this right now, and these damn cameras that are all over the place, which, mind you, present a lot of information. Everybody's hyped up, but it's all at the leadership. I don't care how well-intended our president is. If they can't effectuate this in a way that makes our children and our grandchildren proud, then we've done nothing. People are watching as we leave the baton to the next generation, how we affect, how we protect, how as a nation of laws we're going to execute our immigration laws. And we have to understand, both of my grandparents came through Ellis Island. We don't want to kill that created the biggest bastion in the best city of the entire world here. I'm not the mayor of New York, but both of my grandparents came off that boat. And I'm disgraced if they were treated that way by immigration agents. We put them in a separate island. We put them through medical and legal tests, but we treated them with the dignity of knowing that that was the special ingredient in the Irish stew that we would make in the next generation. And whether it's a cholent, a stew, or otherwise, we can't afford to get this wrong. And that's what we're seeing in those videos. People need to lawyer up properly. They need to take a big dose. If you have a visa or a green card or you're a citizen, don't be scared. Don't be intimidated. Be humble and stand your ground. If you have moments of exposure, get good advice and then shore it up. If you can't shore it up, then you have to conduct yourself differently because this too will pass.
All right, Michael Wiles, thank you so much for enlightening us on the world of immigration. As I said, your resume is you and your dad, from obviously the First Lady to Lionel Richie, Sinead O'Connor, Boy George, Jean-Georges, and the famous Beatle, John Lennon. You've been around the block and back, my friend. I appreciate you finding the time to come on here and shed some light on this, front and center issue here in the United States of America.
Honored to do so. Wish you all the love and best in the new year.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Wiles.